Over the years, there have been conflicting analyses on the cause of insecurity in Nigeria. The factors range from unemployment to bad governance and even infrastructure. Well, security analyst Chidi Omeje believes the reason for the continuous mass abduction of school children and security challenges is due to the country's faulty internal security operations mechanism. Well, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. We read your article. Your article was called Kankara, Kagara and Our Faulty Internal Security Operations Mechanism. In addition to that, you did say there in that article that the safety of school children in Nigeria is not guaranteed, which is, for many people, parents and non-parents alike, quite, unsettling reading. Why do you think it is that school children are not safe in Nigeria? Let's start there.
Okay, good morning, Adefemi and Oji. Both of you are my favorites.
Oh, how sweet. Thank you.
Thank you for... Okay, I wrote the article on the morning of that Wednesday when the news filtered in that there was yet again another mass abduction of school children. And, naturally, we have to take some reflections. And I took my own reflection, and I thought that there was something really wrong going on here that I don't understand. This mass abduction of school children debuted sometime around 2014 with the Chibok girls. And then after that, we've seen, a number of this kind of incident happening. So, and don't forget also that immediately after that particular Chibok incident, there was a global outcry, and there was a global initiative they called Safe School Initiative. And it does appear to me that that particular initiative is not effective in our country. Because in spite of that, the whole effort towards that, we've seen a recurring decimal of this particular horrible crime. So one would, want to think that it does appear that our school children, especially up north, are not protected, are not safe. And it's a horrible thing to think about, because we're talking about our future leaders here. We're talking about innocent children whose crime is just to get education. And they've been exposed to all vagaries of insecurity, owing to what I want to say is carelessness on the part of government and whoever should be in charge of our school children.
Right.
So I have no apologies to what I thought. I believe that our kids are not safe. You see, even immediately after when the Kagara happened, Kankara happened in Katsina.
Right.
We thought that would be the last because the outrage was enormous. But then, just a month or thereabout, Kagara happened again. So, I mean, one was left with no other option than to say, look, it seems that our school children are not safe.
Right.
That's what I thought.
Well, this horrible crime of school children abduction, as you said, has become a recurring event that has proven to have defied the government's response because not much is known about the proactive or preventative measures by the government to halt the reoccurring horror. Some now call it the most lucrative business by the bandits because people obviously are of the impression that the government is in negotiation with these bandits by paying them off. What is your take on that?
Yes, and you don't also blame anybody who comes up who have such thoughts, because I don't understand this idea of paying huge ransoms to bandits and terrorists who are terrorizing our life and making things difficult for everyone. Yes, you might think that as a parent, you might say, okay, well, whatever the government can do to get the kids out is okay as long as they are not harmed. But we are looking at the bigger picture. It's very clear that paying ransom is is clearly a very effective way of reinforcing this particular crime, because let's ask ourselves, what do you think they are doing with the money we're paying them? If you pay them the money, they will use it to fortify themselves and to plan more daring attacks against our children and even carry out that. There are many abductions going on. You see, the school children abduction always come to light because, it kind of touches us differently in our heart because we're talking about kids here. But don't forget that on a daily basis, there are issues, incidents of abductions of people, innocent people, travelers, people at their homes, all manner of people getting kidnapped by people. The country is not safe. This is not the way to go. This is not how we envision our country to be. So yes, if we pay abductions to them, we are reinforcing the crime. Your armament, they are going to get more arms and ammunition. They're going to get more coordinated. They're going to get more whatever thing they used to do to do the thing successfully. They'll do it more. So to me, this is when it comes. This is what it calls for the fine art of statecraft on the part of the government and government handlers. This is the time for them to find out how to deal with this. And of course, you know that the best way to deal with this is to exterminate the situation. These bandits, these kidnappers, those who are perpetrating this kind of heinous crime against our people must be dealt with. There's no two ways about it. We can't continue like this in this kind of vicious cycle. They abduct, we pay them ransom, they release. Next day, they do the same thing. We'll keep going that over and over and over again, and we're becoming a laughingstock in the Committee of Responsible Nations. It doesn't really speak well of this particular administration. It doesn't speak well of our country. It doesn't speak well of us as Africans. Where people think that we are really next to the wild animals, because it's only probably in the jungle that this kind of thing happens. A country that operates under law, a country that has all the mechanisms of law and order, should not be experiencing this sort of thing as often as this kind of incessant, abduction is becoming is horrifying, and we have to find a way around it. We have to.
I mean, you've been very clear. You think the paying of ransoms is counterproductive. It doesn't really neutralize the root issue itself. But we do know that kidnapping for ransom happens all over the world. It's not just unique to Nigeria. But I guess if we were to focus on Nigeria here for this next question, we know that in comparison to other countries like the United Kingdom, United States, France, for example, they've all adopted quite hardline policies when it comes to counterterrorism. We know that the United States is quite famous for saying, we do not negotiate with terrorists. And because of that, if we look at the last 15 years, we have seen a downturn in the amount of US or European citizens who have been kidnapped in countries or across the Sahel region or even here, in Africa. Do you think, if you're saying that paying of ransoms doesn't work, do you think that Nigeria should adopt a hardline policy much like that? Or do you think that, in the long run, these relationships with amnesty and having people come in and lay down their arms and promise never to do it again is effective?
I mean, if you can call it hardline posture, I can call it effective, mechanism to go about it. Now let's get this. Let's put it in perspective. You see, most often when crimes are committed in this country, when this kind of issue happen, the instinctive thing we do is to look towards the military. That shows that there's a very defective internal security operations mechanism in place. What our model we have all the while is the sort that makes it stated clearly that the Nigerian police ought to be the lead agency in any internal security operation, so that they should be able to find a way around every issue that threatens our law and order in the country. But it is only when that particular issue is well beyond the capacity of their holding powers that the civil authority calls on the military to say, look, it's about time you weigh in. But what we are seeing right now is that the police have thoroughly abdicated their responsibility. It is now the military that chase around all manner of crimes and criminals in the country. This is not done anywhere. We should be able to go back to the drawing board to make it possible that the police come back to the plate. Police are trained to handle this kind of thing. The military people are not trained to chase criminals around. The military are trained to kill and to dominate territorial areas. So when we have this kind of crimes like this, and we don't want to go back to the basics in terms of who are supposed to handle it, we have what we call intelligence community. We have the civil police. These people should be able to be, to get back to work. But what we have now is that, they have so much been decimated that they are, more or less deployed to secure private citizens and politicians and celebrities, carry the bags of and handbags of politicians and their wives instead of deploying them to our streets and our farmlands. So what I'm trying to say is that yes, other countries.
I hate to have to interrupt you, but we have come to the end of this segment of the show. Please stay where you are. Keep your thoughts in mind. We're going to take a very short break, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the morning show. Still with us is Chidi Omeje, security analyst. Thank you for staying with us, Chidi. Now, before we went on a break, you made mention in your article that, yes, that the police have become so dysfunctional, ineffective, and watered down that its core responsibility as the lead agency in dealing with internal security challenges has been abdicated to the military. Would like for you to expand on that thought. And, looking at the security challenges in the nation now, how overstretched are both arms of security?
Okay, thank you. What I was trying to say is that ordinarily, the Nigerian police, aided by the secret police, what we call the Directorate of the Department of State Service, that is the intelligence arm of the Nigerian security architecture, that it is their responsibility to handle internal security challenges. But it's only when such challenges are well beyond their capability, when beyond their capacity to handle, when the perpetrators of such internal security challenge are deploying combat, size weapons that could easily overwhelm the police, that the civil authority now, invites the military to weigh in. Now, such huge internal security challenges as maybe terrorism or insurgency are the type that the military naturally comes in to handle. But when it is kidnapping, when it is protest, when it is rioting, cultism, all manner of things, this is where you have the police taking the lead and being effective, making sure that these things are handled. And of course, it is handled when they are able to, dictate it before it even gets out of hand. That is where the intelligence arm come in. They should be able to uncover crimes and make sure that it does not go beyond, go to the point where it imperils the state or threatens the national security, situation. Now, but what we have in our country today is that the military that ought to be the last line of defense have now become the first line of defense, so that every crime, every manner of crime, every crime in the book in the country, people naturally look towards the military and say, what is the military doing? People should be able to take their gaze back to where it belongs. Their gaze should be at the police. But what we have right now is that the police, I don't know, might not be their own fault, but I think that we have to have the political will, the power, to go back to what it's supposed to be. Don't forget that around 1982, 83 or thereabout, the then president, around 1980 to 81 or thereabout, the then president, Alhaji Shehu Shagari, was the one who introduced the mobile police section. The idea was to have them deal with issues like violent protests and all manner of things. That particular department, the mobile police, was supposed to handle emerging crimes that could be a little bit beyond the capacity of the regular police you see. So that they are specially trained. And I tell you something, that particular department of the police called the Police Mobile Force, currently you see them, they are in uniform, they wear this khaki kind of thing. But where do you see them now deployed to? They are deployed to be behind politicians, even celebrities, and their wives. Sometimes we'll see in the Facebook, we'll see a mobile policeman carrying a handbag, or probably the spouse of a political leader and all manner of things. This is a terrible thing. I am thinking that right now, maybe the National Security, the Office of National Security Advisor should be able to wake up to its responsibility and to take charge, to reorganize this department, this internal security architecture, to make sure that the police takes the lead, because they are trained to pursue this kind of crime. The military people are not trained to do that. So to me, it becomes we are really not looking at the right direction. We have to be able to go back to the drawing board to make our police very effective, to retrain them, to even recruit more, put more boots on ground, and then of course, we have the one they call civil defense. And to me, I don't understand what they are doing. I don't know what role they are playing in all these international security challenges that we have. Have you ever? Let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen the civil defense people beyond 5 o'clock in the evening? You will not see them. They would have gone home. So I don't know, except they have been deployed to perform the intelligence role, but which you and I know that is not the case. So I am thinking that this time has come for us to redesign our internal security operations mechanism such that the police will be much more will be retrained, equipped, and even strengthened more in terms of numerical strength, in terms of weapons training, in terms of capacity and all manner of things, so that they will be able to take charge. And we are about 200 million people. We should be able to have at least 1.5 million people in Nigerian police. But today, I'm not sure they are even up to 600,000. And even within 600,000, we have about 40% of them are deployed to take care of personalities and private concerns. When I say private concerns, I'm talking about even companies. You see, they go to banks and go to all manner of places. You see police being deployed. How about the civil defense? What are they doing? I thought that currently they are even armed. So if they are armed, why can't we make use of these people, these civil defense people, to man some of these private issues, and then deploy the police to man our spaces? Our spaces are becoming ungoverned. Our spaces are becoming under-policed, and that is why you see all these manner of crimes recurring on daily basis. And what everybody looks at is the military all the time. And military, we're talking about the military that is not even up to, in terms of numerical strength, I'm not sure they're up to, I'm talking about the tri-service institution of the Nigerian forces, the Nigerian Army, Navy, and Air Force. Are they even up to 500,000 in strength? If they are, we have the multiplicity of, we have theaters of war these days that they are deployed in almost about 34 states out of 36 Nigerian states. So they are overstretched. Military is overstretched. The police is not overstretched. They are underused. This is the difference. They are not effectively used. They are not being deployed to where they're supposed to deploy. But this is what I think that should be done. We must go back to our drawing board to see how we are going to re-strategize and make sure that the actual lead agency in internal security operations get back to duty, and so that we give our military a breather to handle much more issues like insurrection, external threats, or insurrection and the like that we're seeing in the northeast, and of course, the ones coming from the Sahel, talking about the bandits that we now hear are not actually Nigerians. These are the areas that we think the military should come in and then take charge, but not in everything. Do you know that sometimes you will see some of our military guys being, among these task forces chasing around street hawkers? This is terrible.
You
so
said, sorry to interrupt you. You talked about the need to go back to the drawing board and perhaps start again from scratch and identify what our real problems are. So, I mean, LG and I are not, operations experts in that sense. But if we're saying that, on the one hand, one of the issues is ideology, and the fact that groups like Boko Haram and the like have ideological plans for Nigeria and how they wish it to be governed. Separate from that, there are also issues like poverty, and the fact that it is poverty that forces a lot of people to join Islamist or jihadist movements. So I'm asking you in terms of solutions, do you think that there is a place for holistic solutions in the fighting of this war we have on insecurity? Briefly.
You are absolutely right. Of course, the fight against insurgency is a multi-pronged approach. We will have to handle the kinetic, that is deploying the boots on the ground. Then we have to have the carrot side, talking about non-kinetic in terms of how to de-radicalize this kind of people, and of course, what we call the war of narrative. There's what we call toxic narrative coming from the angle of the terrorists. Such narratives is what they use to recruit members. So we should be able to look. Let me tell you, there was this national anti-terrorism strategic document that the Office of the National Security Advisor came up with sometime, and it talks, much about, the issue of kinetic and no kinetic approach to the fight. So yes, we have to look at governance. Governance is what breeds poverty. Governance is what breeds injustice. I mean, talking about poor governance. So you see that most of these issues, most of this crime, most of these infractions of security are actually a consequence of bad governance, consequence of inept leadership. And I'll tell you something again. Terrorism, banditry, or all this kind of matter of security breaches,
it's paining me to have to interrupt you here.
Bad governance.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this program.